All right, ready to dive into something big today.
Always up for a deep dive. What are we tackling?
Consciousness. You know, that feeling of experiencing the world, being you. We all have it, but explaining it.
It's like trying to explain a sunset to someone blind from birth. We know it's there, but how do you put it into words?
Exactly. And that's why we're grappling with David Chalmers facing up to the problem of consciousness. Talk about diving into the deep end.
No kidding, that paper is a thinker. But he doesn't beat around the bush, does he? Gets straight to the heart of the matter.
Nope, he doesn't. And to really get this, we need to break down what he calls the easy and hard problems of consciousness.
And don't let that word easy fool you.
Right? Like, it's not like these are simple things.
Ah,
We're talking about how our brains focus, why we sleep, how we learn language.
huge questions. But Chalmers calls them easy because they're ultimately about the brain's functions, the mechanics of it all.
Okay, so like we can study the gears turning, so to speak.
Exactly. And in a way, that's what's happening in neuroscience. We're getting better at understanding those gears.
But, and here's the kicker, even if we mapped out every single neuron firing, would that really tell us what it feels like to be alive, to experience the world?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Like, imagine building a robot. This robot, it can describe a sunset perfectly, analyze the colors, everything. But would it actually experience the beauty of it?
And that, my friend, is the crux of the hard problem. It's not about what the brain does. It's about why any of it feels like something on the inside.
It's the difference between reading a recipe and tasting the food. The robot might have all the information, but
It doesn't have that inner experience. And that's what's got scientists stumped. How do you even begin to study something like that?
so if the usual tools aren't cutting it, how do we approach this hard problem?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. Chalmers suggests we might need a completely new approach. He says we need a non-reductive explanation.
Okay, I'm already lost. Non-reductive explanation. That's a mouthful. What does that even mean? So it's like we're trying to understand the universe, but all we've got is a map. We can learn the names of places, the distances, but that doesn't tell us what it feels like to be there.
Exactly. And Chalmers argues that a lot of existing theories about consciousness are kind of stuck at the map level.
Like, I'm thinking about that work by Crick and Koch, the whole neural oscillations idea.
Right, right. They talk about how these brainwave patterns might be what ties everything together. Like when you see an apple, your brain isn't processing red, round, and stem separately.
It's linking it all up, creating the experience of apple.
And they suggest that these oscillations, these brainwave patterns, could be the neural correlate of consciousness itself. But, and this is Chalmers' point, even if that's true, it's not the whole picture.
Okay, I see what you mean. We could pinpoint the exact neurons firing when someone feels joy, but that wouldn't tell us why it feels joyful.
Exactly. It's like describing every gear and spring in a music box, but never explaining why it plays a melody. We've got the mechanics down, but
Yeah.
where's the music coming from?
So Chalmers is saying to solve this hard problem, we need to change our whole approach.
Radically change it. He even uses the term non-reductive explanation, which sounds way more complicated than it is.
Yeah, that one's a mouthful. So break it down for me. What's the non-reductive explanation?
He's basically saying that consciousness might be a fundamental thing like gravity?
Hold on. Is consciousness a force field now?
Not exactly. He's saying it might be a basic property of the universe, just like mass or space-time. We don't totally get those things either, but we accept them as building blocks.
Okay, so instead of looking for the right gear in the machine, we need to understand that the machine itself might be working on principles we haven't even discovered yet.
Now you're getting it. And the really cool thing is, Chalmers doesn't just throw his hands up and say it's a mystery. He offers some principles, some rules of the game that might connect our physical brains to the experience of consciousness.
All right, let's get into those principles then. One of them is called the principle of structural coherence. Sounds intimidating.
It's actually pretty straightforward. It means that the way we experience the world should, in some way, reflect how our brains are processing information.
So there's a link between how our brain organizes information and how we experience the world around us.
Think of it like a map. The map isn't the actual land, but it shows you the layout, the way things are connected. Chalmers thinks our inner experience is like a map of the information in our brain.
Makes sense. But he doesn't stop there, does he? There's another principle about organization, right? Something like, it's not about the parts, but how they're put together. You got it. Organizational invariance. And this one really gets you thinking. It's like he's saying, it's not about what your brain's made of, but how it's wired up, you know?
Exactly. It's radical. Right. You could theoretically have a brain made of anything. Computer chips, spaghetti, those little fuzzy things on a peach.
Okay, now you're just messing with me.
But that's the point. As long as the information's flowing the same way, you'd still have the same experiences. You'd still be you.
So it's like the experience of watching a movie, whether it's on a big screen or your phone, it's the same story. It's the information that matters, not the physical stuff.
You got it. A total mind bender, right? And this leads us to, arguably, his most out there principle, the double aspect theory of information.
Okay, you called this one a brain bender before, so hit me.
What if, and this is a big what if, information itself has like a hidden side?
A hidden side. Go on.
We think about information as bits, data, the stuff it's stored on, but what if there's another side to it? And that side, that's consciousness.
Hold on, is my laptop conscious now? Does this conversation have a secret inner world?
It's a wild thought, right? I mean, even Chalmers says it's out there. But think of it this way. Maybe experience is just a fundamental property of information. Like weight is a property of, well, stuff.
So a simple system like a thermostat might have super basic experiences, and something complex like our brains would have, well, our experiences.
Exactly, a whole spectrum of experience built into information itself. Now, there are lots of questions, right? Does all information have this experiential side? Is there a cutoff point? We don't know yet.
So where does that leave us? What do we do with these pretty mind-blowing ideas?
Well, Chalmers isn't saying he has all the answers. He's just saying to understand consciousness, we might need to totally rethink how we see the mind in the universe. It's not just about finding a specific answer, it's about asking bigger questions.
It's like he's opened up this whole new frontier, a whole new way of looking at reality. Makes you wonder what other mysteries are out there, just waiting for us to uncover them. That's a wrap on this deep dive, everyone. Thanks for exploring with us.